I'm helping people out all the time with video and getting set up like this. And as people get started, by far the most common issue I hear is, how do I stay looking down the lens? I just find I'm looking down at my monitor and I watch the video back and my eyes weren't looking. Do you have any tips? Well, yes I do, and I'm constantly helping people with ideas as how you can move things around on the screen so your camera's as close as possible to the monitor. But actually, as I think about it, the best solution is always going to be using a teleprompter. Now, if you're not familiar with teleprompters, typically the idea is I can put a projector up in front of me, I can read words as they're coming down, but I'm actually looking to the camera that's hidden behind the screen. And that's exactly what we're doing here, but actually we're going to take, whether it be a Zoom call or a live stream, actually to put that image up right in front of the camera lens, so as you're talking to a guest, maybe in an interview, you can see them right in front of you. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of options in this video, both using an iPad and this teleprompter that I've got here. Firstly, it'll be a more basic one that won't allow for mirroring. It'll just extend the screen up, it'll be back to front, but if it's only somebody's face, that's probably not a big issue to you. And then we'll take it on a level to a second version, which will actually have a teleprompter feature and actually flip everything around. So it's exactly the same as what I'm seeing on the screen in front of me. We're just sliding it up so that it's there in front of the camera. So let's get into it. So the first and most important thing that you need here is a teleprompter. You may already have one. I used to use a big bulky one that had a cloth that came down the back. It was a pain every time I wanted to take the camera on and off, and while it was enclosed in there I couldn't get to the camera and I just gave up on it. I've then used a Parrot teleprompter, which is a smaller version that's designed purely for hanging a phone on the front, and then I found this version which is super compact, folds away to a very small little case, and in seconds I've pulled it down. And actually, quite like the Parrot teleprompter where it slides onto a lens, this one does the same thing but in reverse, in that the teleprompter is actually what's attached to the tripod and the camera hangs on the back of that, which means I can put an iPad on here and not worry that this weight is all hanging off the front of the camera. Actually, it's the other way around and the camera's attached to the back, which I was a little bit dubious about to start with, but it feels really secure and locked in there. I've got no hesitation that this camera is going to fall off the back of it. Now, for me with a iPad Air, it feels too big to be putting on this. It's definitely designed for an iPad mini, but I reckon actually my oversized iPad on here fits really well. It allows me to see right to the edges of it. I don't waste any of the screen space. You'll just see in a few minutes, we just need to bring that in a little bit. So if you haven't got a teleprompter already, I'll put a link to this one in the description. It's only $69, which is half the price of what the competitors are. But assuming you've got the teleprompter sorted now, cameras attached in there, do just take a bit of time and ideally get someone else to help you. Just position this so that you know the camera is at the right angle, it's not wonky, it's not tilting up or down, because you need to do that by moving this teleprompter case. So with the teleprompter in place, I'm going to connect my iPad over USB. Personally, I'd rather do that and know that it's got a constant supply of power and the connection is better than using Wi-Fi. And in this first example, we're simply going to use Sidecar, which is a feature built into Apple. I should have explained early on, this is very much a Mac solution, but actually in the second option that includes an app, that will work on PC or Mac. So let's open up System Preferences, and down the bottom here is Sidecar. And it's saying to me, which device do I want to select? That's my iPad. And as easy as that, it's connected. Now, if I come back into my preferences and display, I've already got two monitors and this one will now be a third. So if I click up here as arrangement, notice I've already got my iPad installed like this, but you can adjust the placement of where your iPad is simply by selecting it and dragging it. And as this camera and iPad are directly in front of my main monitor, that's where I want it to be. What it will mean is that I can drag something like this up off of this screen and straight onto the iPad screen. We're not ticking to mirror the displays, we're extending them so we can drag them and move them around. So let's close this down, and keep in mind that as I'm putting my iPad up into here, I want to just tilt it the other way so it rotates over. It wants to be facing away from me so that when it's in this screen, I'm seeing it the right way up. Okay, now let's imagine we're using Zoom. I'm going to open up the Zoom app. I'm going to open a new meeting, connect as I would normally. And all I'm going to do is push this, look off the top of this screen. How cool is that? That it's there now, right in front of me, and I can see my lens straight through the center of that. Perfect. I can place this around on this screen. Everything is back to front, remember? But I can extend that out on there, and I've now got a full width. So actually, if you looked on the iPad screen, we're only using the bottom 2/3 of it, because as I look into the teleprompter, I can't see that strip at the top. But it's absolutely fine. So now I can talk to my guest, have my meeting, and I'm looking over here and I've got no reason to look away from the camera because everything is right here in front of me. So that's the basic setup with this in reverse. But if you're wanting to bring the Zoom chat on screen, or maybe like me, you're using Ecamm and you want to have comments and things on there, that's going to drive you mad having that all back to front. So the next setup would be to use an app that will actually flip that screen around so it looks exactly the same up there as it does down here. So let's get into that one now. So I'll close down this Zoom window for now, come back into our system preferences, and I'm going to disconnect the sidecar. Now I've been looking around for a few weeks trying to find an app that would actually do like sidecar but just simply flip the screen over, and I've been struggling. And just last night I was talking to a friend who said, oh, you need to try Duet Air, and it seems to do exactly what I want. Now it is £19 a year, but you can take it for a 7-day free trial, and I guess if this is the setup that you want to use and you're happy with it, then actually £19 a year isn't that bad. We'll put the links in the description. On the web page, you download the iOS version for your iPad, and then you download the Mac version for your computer. Go through and set up an account to start the trial. Once you've set this up initially and you've opened up the Duet app on your iPad, do make sure when you're setting up the iPad, it gives you an option for a teleprompter mode, which will flip it. Set it up in there, and every time you use it afterwards, it will remember that. It's way easier than doing it afterwards. You've got to come out of the app and install it later. So remember that one. It'll say it's trying to connect. You'll then need to set the same thing up on your computer, and the two will talk to each other. Once that's done, simply go into your system preferences and go into the display options like we did before, arrangement, and we've got the iPad screen on there again, but this time it isn't using sidecar, it's doing this Duet. So now I've got this extended screen, I can pop this up on my teleprompter and my cursor goes straight up from this one up to the one above as it did before, but this time everything's written the right way around. So I could do exactly the same thing now, open up Zoom, share it up to that top space, and if I open up the chat, it would sit alongside and it would be much easier to see. Now, as you can see, that's put a default background on that, and I'm really not wanting to see that. It's distracting for me. I want to just have a black background up there. So all I've got to do is go into desktop and screensaver and change it for that screen. And I'm just going to select a black backdrop like this. Come back to my main desktop and close this down. And that's just given me a pure black background in there, which is going to look much better when I scroll this up and I don't want to see what's going on all around it. Now I want to take this on a step, and if you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of Ecamm Live, and I actually think that the preview mode that was recently added to Ecamm is absolutely perfect for this. I should just say, if you're not already on Ecamm Live and you are on a Mac, click up here and you can take a 14-day free trial of it, or there's a link in the description. In fact, we've got a whole playlist talking about Ecamm to get you up and going with it. But let's just show you in here. One of the features is preview mode. And if you're not seeing it on here in, say, Facebook, just change this in the bottom corner to record only, and you'll see this extra button appear saying preview mode. Now, when I click on that, I get a whole other window. I can now say back to live mode, and this down here is just a complete mirror of what's going on the other screen. So guess what I'm going to do with it? Push it up there off my screen, and now it's just giving me a mirror copy of what's on my main computer up there in front of the camera, and it's the right way round. So if I were to come onto a scene that I've made where I've got comments that were appearing at the side of me, that is so cool that now it can be sitting right in front of me up there. I don't need to take my eyes. Normally I'm down here looking away at comments and things and then coming back up to the camera. I don't need to now. And because of this preview window, I can just reposition this to the size that I want. I'm actually just putting myself to the side and the comments are behind the camera. So when I'm looking straight at the lens, I'm actually reading people's comments. I think that's a genius idea. I can't wait actually to do a live later on today and have a go at this. Yeah, super excited about how this works. Alternatively, maybe I haven't got a scene set up like this and it's just me on camera and actually this little comments window here. I can do the same thing and push that up now up onto this second monitor on the iPad. Yeah, really flexible. Or I use this as I would a conventional teleprompter and put some notes up there. Basically anything from my screen here in front of me, I can slide up there now and reposition around on that, and yeah, it just works really well. Now I've tried this with my phone. Personally, I find it's too small a screen to put up there. As I say, this feels oversized for this teleprompter. It's not advertised to be used with this one, but I'm not bothered if there's some space on my iPad that's not being used. It's no different to a monitor here that I can move things around, reposition it on screen. I reckon this is a cracking solution. I haven't had to go out and buy a new monitor. I've bought a very affordable teleprompter and I'm using the iPad that's already here. So I reckon this is a great solution. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think to this? Do you think this is going to be a game changer for you? Or have you got another solution for doing this? And obviously, if you've got questions, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a thumbs up and do make sure to subscribe because we've got loads of ideas, tips and tricks like this that we just love sharing with you. Thanks so much. I'll see you in another video.